As I contemplated and prayed for this beautiful first Friday and asked the Lord, and through the intercession of Our Lady, the message that He would like me to share with you, to offer you an opportunity to pray and contemplate, was the amazing thing is I, in my prayer time, had said to the Lord, it's so awesome that in this first week of October, we have 3 amazing feast days of saints. You know, we have Saint Therese comes first, and then Saint Francis, of course, Saint Faustina, where we're coming up to. And I began to just ask the Lord for an inside understanding of the significance of these 3 saints. And I've read stuff from Here to Kingdom Come on all 3 of them because I think they're all amazing. And all the saints have such amazing messages that they share with us while they were here on earth. But what struck my heart in my prayer was, number one, they all had a deep devotion to the Eucharist. Every one of them did. Each one of them, and St. Francis, and just a little few tidbits that I learned when I was looking him up specifically, and St. Francis was that he had such a profound desire and taught his brothers and priests the significance of the cleanliness of the vessels that go on the altar that they use to celebrate Mass, and how impeccably clean, and you know, this is St. Francis of Assisi, poverty, how impeccably clean he expected that the altar cloths were. And it just touched my heart, and it just, you know, it put a fire and a renewed strength in my heart about sometimes how I can just be so picky about everything, especially in the chapel. Thumbprints on the ciborium, you know, the altar cloths, even the kneelers, the little covers that we have over them. You know, I don't like when they're all wrinkled or they're sideways, or even here, you know, all these things. And sometimes I think, you know, you're going a little overboard, but I'm not. Because there's nothing more profound than the true presence of God in the Eucharist and the effect that it has on our lives. If we realize it or we don't, it does anyway. God does his work anyway. Saint Faustina had such a profound devotion and love for the Blessed Sacrament. She even called her name that, Saint Faustina Maria of the Blessed Sacrament. Saint Therese wrote a beautiful prayer about God asking him, never leave me, be a tabernacle inside of me, and remain there, never let me be separated. I'm paraphrasing because I don't have my notes in front of me. But they realized that every single one of them had the deepest devotion to the divine mercy of God. The trust is the huge thing in every one of their lives. And trust is so significant right now in our times, in our lives. Because if we can't trust God, we have nothing. If we can't trust that God, especially as we lead a sacramental life, that God is moving, that God is alive, that he's going to handle any situation that we are encountering, he's going to give us the graces we need for it, then we're in really bad shape. But I know that, obviously, here at the Shrine of Divine Mercy, people purposefully come here, seeking a deeper trust, even. Another thing that was so significant about each one of the saints was their humility. Humility simply means, I know you're God and I'm not. And I depend on your will. I think if we really take even just a few minutes and ponder, your will be done, we could have such freedom in our life. When we can totally surrender everything to God at every opportunity. The opportunity of greatness and the opportunity of great suffering, same alike. If we can trust God in those moments, if we could reach the point of saying, Jesus, I'm really struggling right now, but I have the desire to trust you, Jesus, then he takes over. He alleviates a lot of the pain and the stress and suffering. Now, we're going to suffer. We're going to go. We're on this earth. We're not in heaven yet. But by his grace, God takes care of a situation. In all of that, he speaks to our hearts. He may speak audibly to you. He may speak through the scriptures. He may speak through another person of something you have in your heart. But when we realize that he is God and we are not, we have peace. And all we have to do is to look up to him in heaven, deep in the tabernacle of our soul, and trust him. Because he's the only one that can change anything, to make it better, to lift us, and to heal whatever the situation is. Because we can't, because we're not God. Humility is critical. Should I speak or should I refrain? Should I go and do or should I pray? That's another thing. They each had such a powerful prayer life. Even as they walked and did whatever they had to do. St. Faustina didn't always get to stay for hours in prayer before the Blessed Sacrament like she wanted to. She had to make the most of her time boiling potatoes or doing whatever she had to do or whatever they asked her to do, cleaning. Such humility. I want to share a couple of things. As I pondered in my rosary this morning, this day, and these beautiful saints, I thought about Our Lady most specifically because each one of these saints had a deep devotion and trust that Our Lady would intercede for them, and did. She did. A vision that came to my heart was Our Lady kissing the head of Jesus. I saw her kiss the head of Jesus when he was a newborn baby. Is there anything more precious than kissing a newborn's head? I can't think of anything. I saw her kiss Jesus, his head, when they removed the crown of thorns. Is there any greater suffering than a mother or a father, whoever, watching a child suffer or die? I don't know. I know a little bit. I thought, beloved God, Jesus, in the horrific suffering that you had, Our Lady, from the time she held you in her arms when you were born, she knew what the end was going to be. And yet she went through her time knowing that you're her God, you're her son, and she had no control. But she did the will of God. Thy will be done. She loved you with all of her being. She raised you and fed you. And she let you go for our salvation. Friends, we have to do what Mary did, our Blessed Mother Mary. We have to love God with all of our hearts and trust in him explicitly. We have to revere and have great reverence for things of God, mainly the Holy Eucharist, his Holy Mother, clean things, flowers for the Lord. Whatever the Spirit moves your heart to for his glory, kneeling, receiving Jesus, even receiving him on our tongue especially. You know, we receive Jesus on our hand, but there's particles. Think about that. We have to think about that. There are still particles on our hands, and if a priest has to wash his hands before touching anything else once he's touched the Eucharist up here at the altar, think about that. Think how holy. I think today things are so fast and furious that we don't always give our God the mindfulness that he deserves, the reverence that he deserves. Think of things of God. Let the saints be your instructors, whichever saint you like. And listen to the voice of Our Lady as she intercedes for you, and she will. She will. She's with us. God's with us. As we go through this pilgrimage of life, we say, you are God, and I am not. I am called to be a saint, and each one of those saints that I mentioned believed wholeheartedly that saintliness was not about doing great, magnificent things. It's about doing acts of love through your days. We're called to love. I thought this morning in my prayer time, too, of all the people in the world. You know, as I had to take my blood pressure pill this morning, I thought about the people in the world who are at war. You know, do they know all the politics of stuff? The Ukraine, Russia, wherever, all over the world where there's war, people don't get their medicine. People need surgery and they can't have it. I'm not even talking about the politics of stuff. I'm talking about the people of God. You know, you go to a country, you follow the rules, you follow their laws. But we're talking about his children. And the way Our Lady kissed the Lord's head, she kisses our heads too. We're critically important to her and to Jesus. You got to know that. And knowing that, they will give us everything that we need to walk this pilgrimage with them until we can all be in heaven together. And we can have what we need, what we want, that will glorify God. We have to trust him when we don't get what we want, when we want it. We're American after all. That it's not in God's timing for us. It's not meant to be for now. And that maybe we're called to suffer a bit so that we can offer it up for others for their salvation. Like St. Therese and St. Faustina with tuberculosis. St. Francis, the wounds of the suffering Christ. They were all offering for the salvation of God's people, all of us. Let's don't engage. Let's don't engage in the misery and the division, just as Father was talking about. Let's be engaged in prayer. And no matter what we're doing, thy will be done. And at the name of Jesus, we know that every knee has to bow. Everybody. There is not anything stronger in this world, in heaven and in earth, any place but God himself. So we walk valiantly as sons and daughters of God with the full authority and power that God gives us to be an overcomer, to overcome whatever it is, to walk through. If we're called to suffer, then let it be. Offering it up for his and the intentions of Our Lady and God's will in our life, that we can become great saints, doing small things, but powerful things. And one last thing, as St. Catherine of Siena always says, love that saint. Love her name. Be who you are, and you will set the world on fire. Don't think you got to be like somebody else. Or you aren't good enough, or more beautiful, or whatever that stuff. It does not matter to God. There was one time in all of these years, out of the many times that I have seen Our Lady with my own eyes, there was one time that I saw her hold Jesus in her arms. And let me tell you, that love took my breath away. I will never forget it. And I think about the love that she has for me, that she has for you, that we're together here on a Friday morning, listening, praying, receiving Jesus, and trying. So long as we have the desire, God can do everything in our life. Stand your ground, lead a strong sacramental life, and walk in trust. That's where we're at now in these days and our times. Do not get into the minutia of all the garbage. Walk straight ahead, knowing what is true, what is right, and walk in God's peace, because that's how he wants us to live our life. God bless us. God bless our families. God bless the ministry of Divine Mercy. And I hope I see you on Sunday at the feast day of St. Faustina and that awesome Polish dinner. Can't wait. God bless you. Love you.